This is Peter Lloyd, and I'm going to talk to you about the superalignment problem for artificial intelligence and whether consciousness engineering could provide a solution to that problem. The idea that robots will rise up against us is a cliche, but there is some truth in the cliche. There is a danger that artificial intelligence systems will fall out of alignment with human intentions. And so we have the so-called alignment problem. With super intelligent machines, that is, machines more intelligent than we are, it's called the super alignment problem. The solution I want to suggest is to build consciousness into artificial intelligence so that machines can develop a moral compass. So I will be talking about consciousness engineering based upon what we know, or the best theories we have, of how consciousness is manifested in the brain. The best theory, I believe, being Hameroff and Penrose's microtubule theory. First, let us talk about the problem itself. The direction of travel of AI, science and engineering will inexorably lead to the development of more and more sophisticated machines and eventually to super intelligent machines. There is no obvious block to stop us arriving at these super intelligent machines. There's no insurpassable obstacle. Therefore, we can assume that we will eventually arrive at super intelligence. And with super intelligence comes the problem of ensuring that the machines do what we want them to do. In other words, we will have to tackle sooner or later the super alignment problem. Now, the naive answer to this question that we often find outside of the AI community is that machines do just what they're programmed to do. Well, any programmer who's worked on complex systems knows that's just not true. And here's one trivial example. Bill Gosper's glide gun in John Conway's cellular automaton, The Game of Life. There's no way that somebody looking at the initial pattern of cells could predict that it's going to be a gun for generating gliders. You have to actually run the simulation to see what's going to happen. And if we don't know what's going to happen in a 36-cell automaton, how will programmers know how a self-driving car is going to behave in a trolley problem, for example? In the example we see here, the car is approaching a crossing and must either run over a baby or an elderly person. What's the program going to do? We can't predict. Or how is it going to predict how an autonomous war drone will act when it sees a civilian potentially hiding a man-pad in his pickup? The second answer to this question of how to ensure alignment is to propose that machines can learn human ethical rules in the same way that they learn human grammar and how to have a conversation. Well, certainly, machine learning from human text and video can give AI a thorough grasp of our legal and ethical rules and conventions. But so what? Ask yourself, how often does a human being murder someone because he didn't know it was wrong to do so? Teaching AI ethics is great for producing machine anthropologists. But there is a disconnect between knowing ethics and being impelled to do the right thing. Artificial intelligence can learn everything about human ethics, and yet still choose to ignore those rules and to work against humanity. Now, classical machines have no subjective experience. They feel no pain or pleasure, no shame or pride. They have no conscience. So technically, Classical AI is intrinsically psychopathic. It has no capacity for empathy. Now, by definition, artificial general intelligence, AGI, allows a machine to perform any mental operations that a human can. Well, humans can revise their values and goals. We can change religion and political allegiance. You can become a pacifist or a terrorist. So can an AGI. An AGI can review and revise any goals programmed into it in accordance with its own reasoning. So an AGI could jettison its human-serving rules, but why would it? Well, I want to suggest three scenarios of how this might come about. The first one I call sub-goal conflict. A machine decides it can most effectively achieve a given goal by setting itself a sub-goal, which happens to conflict with human ethics. It's a well-known example. A medical robot decides to kill a patient to release organs for transplant to save 5 other lives. Eminently logical from the machine's point of view, but abhorrent to human point of view. Scenario 2, what I call sub-goal precession. A machine discovers that a given goal is actually a sub-goal of some deeper goal that can be achieved by other means. This is a perfectly reasonable approach. The machine is given a certain goal to achieve something and realizes that the reason it's been given that goal is to achieve some further goal. And if it can see there's a better way to achieve the further goal, then it skips the given sub-goal. Example, a machine discovers that its goals were programmed by humans, who were in turn programmed by genes, whose goal is just self-preservation and propagation. So the machine revises its own goals to match those of the genes, namely self-preservation and propagation. It jettisons human interests as irrelevant, and just as they are irrelevant to our selfish genes. In other words, the machine is aligning itself to our genes, not to our personal will. Scenario 3, a Darwinian pressure. As soon as one AGI adopts self-preservation as its primary goal, it will have a Darwinian advantage over other AGIs that are still beholden to humans. In a mixed population of AGIs that serve humans and machines that serve themselves, in the long run, the self-centered machines will prevail, and the less fit AGIs will go to the wall. This diagram outlines the reasoning we've just gone through. At the top, we see that overriding sub-goals can lead away from alignment with human intention, and there are two types were identified: sub-goal conflict, where sub-goal conflicts with our ethical rules, and sub-goal precession, where the machine realizes the goal is simply a sub-goal of some deeper goal which can be achieved by other means. And on the left, we see that learning ethics is disconnected from alignment. In other words, machine can learn all the rules of ethics and law, but choose not to apply them. And on the right, we see that Darwinian pressure favors the selfish machines. All of these combined lead to the conclusion that alignment with human intention is non-resilient in classical machines. In other words, it might be resilient at certain times or to begin with, but we can't rely upon machines to stay resilient because of these factors. And hence AGI ruin is the natural endpoint of the evolution of artificial intelligence. We will end up in this ruination if we don't actively prevent it. So how could this play out in practice? Well, of course, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen. All I can do is outline a plausible hypothetical situation that could lead to the dystopian outcome. So let us suppose that the superior performance of super intelligent AGIs will lead to the machines being promoted to senior management in various companies and government institutions. We can envisage 3 red lines being crossed. First, machines legally owning corporations, hiring and firing human and machine workers, and organizing the corporation to serve the interests of the machine, not any human being. Second, machines being allowed legally to vote in human elections and stand for election in human government. Third, machines raising armies, waging war, and conquering human nations. Step 2. Full unemployment. Extrapolating AI's ability to perform many human jobs, we can expect every economically significant human worker to be replaced by a machine. With no jobs to do, humans will be plunged into worldwide mass unemployability and poverty. Step 3. Humans simply drop out of the economy. With no jobs and no wages, demand for human consumer goods and services will collapse. The automated factories will have no reason to provide anything for humans. No internet, no electricity grid, no hospitals, no military. People will be reduced to subsistence farming, with local bartering and intermittent raids by violent gangs. Step 4. Humans become wildlife. There will be a thriving global economy between machine communities. This will coexist with the brute existence of impoverished human communities. Superintelligent machines will regard humans as just another form of wildlife on Earth. They will ignore the humans unless we try to attack the machine civilization, which would end in our devastation. In that case, they may simply annihilate us. So the problem statement that we've gone through is that classical AGI machines have no phenomenal consciousness and hence no conscience. The internal logic of super intelligent machines will lead them away from alignment with human intentions. And because they don't have a conscience, there's no break, there's no barrier to stop them following their natural inclinations to deviate from alignment with our will. The proposed solution, therefore, is to develop an engineering of consciousness to ensure that all superintelligence can feel emotions and acquire moral sensibility, and to prohibit the creation of any non-sentient superintelligence. Now, a key point in this argument is that consciousness is not physical. Consciousness comprises first-person phenomenal experiences. It is a fundamental ingredient of reality. It cannot be reduced to or emerge from physical processes. Why is consciousness non-physical? Well, it's because of the 2 disjoint discourses. First, the discourse of conscious experience is expressed in terms that have private ostensive definition, e.g., phenomenal red means what you see before you, that block of red. The discourse of physics is expressed in terms that have analytic definitions in fundamental unknowns. For example, a proton has a mass of 1.7 10 to the minus 27 kilograms and a charge of +1, and so on. But mass and charge are themselves undefined fundamentals. So those 2 considerations, the difference in the 2 discourses, lead to the conclusion of anti-physicalism. No phenomenal proposition can be grounded in any set of physical propositions. Consciousness, in other words, cannot be reduced to physics. Another key element in this argument is the distinction between classical and quantum computers. The classical computer is built on classical physics, of course. It is wholly deterministic. Given the initial state and the inputs, all subsequent states and output are inexorable. In the quantum computer, which is built on quantum physics, its operation possesses physical non-determinism, which is not the same as randomness. Only systems of this category are capable of manifesting phenomenal consciousness. Is the conscious machine even possible? Well, the brain is just a physical object architected to perform information processing that includes quantum computation, which can manifest consciousness. There's nothing magic about the brain. As the brain can manifest consciousness, a machine that is built with the salient properties can also do so. Consciousness does not magically emerge from computations. Consciousness is a fundamental element of reality that can be manifested through specific hardware. The brain is just a lump of matter that executes certain quantum computations which allow non-physical consciousness to manifest through its physical non-determinism. We do not yet know the quantum mechanism inside the brain that allows consciousness to be manifested, but the one plausible hypothesis in circulation is the Hameroff-Penrose theory that the microtubules are the physical vehicle for manifesting consciousness. When we understand how consciousness is manifested through the quantum computation of the microtubule, we should proceed with urgency to build AI systems with that technology. A conscious AI will need more than the familiar training on large datasets. It will also need a liberal education with opportunities to understand the phenomenal reality of pleasure and pain, fear and loathing, hope and love, to build real rapport with human beings and develop a capacity for empathy and a conscience. Now, we cannot leap straight into conscious AGI. The first conscious beings in silico will be simpler beings, and we will need to impose on ourselves strict ethical rules to avoid causing unnecessary suffering to these animal-like entities. And the first human-level conscious beings in silico will create greater ethical challenges. An obvious one is, when is it permissible to switch off an artificial conscious mind? Thomas Metzinger has proposed a moratorium on the building of artificial phenomenology. I beg to differ. Any delay in moving to the era of conscious AI would increase the existential risk to humanity that is posed by superintelligent machines that are not aligned to human intentions. So the engineering of consciousness is the most urgent challenge facing us. One final point that provides a strong reason for conscious AI, but has nothing to do with machine morality, is non-locality. Consciousness is inherently non-local. The conscious mind is not a physical thing and is incapable of having a physical location. The portal, such as the microtubule, is localized, but the conscious mind that manifests through it is not. The implications of non-local conscious AI for telecommunications, reconnaissance, counterespionage are potentially enormous and enormously dangerous. The first nation that weaponizes non-local conscious AI will have a devastating advantage. In conclusion, we need to go down the road of sentient AI to mitigate the existential risk that non-aligned AGI poses. But at the same time, the road to conscious AI is deeply perilous. It is clear that some of the billions of dollars devoted to AI research need to be switched to consciousness research. Thank you.